Hey, thanks. We're going to be fitting some lights in this now. So this has already got some UV LEDs already in. So they don't show up very well on camera, but it's got UV LEDs in there. And what I want to do is change it for the new product I've got, which is the Clean Light RGB. So we can change these colours. I was going to change these to black buttons. I'm just going to leave them as clear for now, because I want to see what it's like with clear buttons anyway. Yeah, I'm up a little bit earlier today. What can I say? Just, I think, to be honest, I think it's more this diet stuff I'm with, like under eating and exercising and stuff. I think your body just wakes up thinking you're in like survival mode or something. But I do get up early anyway. So this is fully in production now. This is working perfect. These AA batteries. So I guess I could show you actually how now the plan is to install these. It's not that bad. It's going to come with a little plastic spudger. So this is often me tweezers, but it's going to actually come in kit with a little plastic spudger. And the only thing you really have to do is push this battery, both to install and remove. You're just going to push on this battery out the way like that, and it just lifts out there. And then the others just lift out clean. They come out easy. That gets you that far, and then you take your batteries out. So to install it, I'll show you doing it the other way around. The only thing you don't want to do with this is continually bend these back and forward. You want to try, keep them in the bent state. But yeah, that's working perfect so far. Ah, nice. Mid-afternoon in Australia, so a nice early stream's actually not that bad for you guys then. Everybody kicking off that I'm on it. Whatever time it is, I don't know what time it is, 5:30. It's not that bad. That's pretty normal. And then I've enabled Kick as well. Look at that already. First thing on Kick is spam. So I'm going to try and enable it, but I can either disable Kick chat, or I'm going to get the common things, the common messages that pop up, and I'm going to kind of flag it. So while we're on, let me just go live into the chat bot thing, whatever it's called on here. I always forget what it's called on Streamlabs. What time do I actually work from though? I don't know. Whenever I feel like I work for myself, so I normally start work early and then go for a coffee a few times. Well, probably once a day to be honest. We'll go for a coffee, usually after the stream, and then I'll work till whenever. Some days I'll knock off at 4, some days 6, some days 9. It doesn't really matter. It's just whatever I feel like, really. Right, mod tools, word protection. See, I would have thought there'd be a link protection. That's on and apparently doesn't work. So it looks like the Kicky that isn't monitored, and it doesn't protect against it, which is strange. It says active. Yeah, the bot didn't pick that up, apparently. Thanks, I'm glad you're liking them. Right, okay, so sod the fixing of the Kick chat for now. That's already enabled to apparently prevent the links, but they've posted anyway. So I turned off Kick at the very start because all we got was bots, but we'll see. So let's crack this thing open anyway. And this one's my personal one, so I'm going to put the LEDs in, and then I might open him back up after at some point to swap the shallow buttons. This is, I think, still my favourite, one of my favourite shells for the game, but I always remember this kind of crazy green as a kid. This was like definitely an 80s green, super vibrant, right in the between. On camera that looks, well, no, the camera looks pretty accurate to be honest. It's ever so slightly more green to the eye, but it's like that perfect balance between green and yellow, I think. I don't know what they used to call it, but yeah, I have fond memories of this colour as a kid. Everything being this super glowy greeny yellow. That's why I like this kit. It all seems that my most favourite colours, this and the amber because of Jurassic Park. So the clear amber yellow are the worst selling shells. So obviously what I like is not what most people like, unfortunately. Yeah, to be honest, it's pretty much is like Mountain Dew. I haven't actually had any for a while either. I just call this clear yellow, I think, on the way. I should give it a better name, it'd probably sell better. When I was making all these shell kits in like 16 different colours, I wasn't exactly being creative with my names at the time. But I think a good name would help sell this. Maybe people seen it as well, because the other downside is, even though my shell's a bit battered, I'll probably swap it. Yeah, I've cracked the crap out of my shell with playing with all the battery mods. You don't even see real pictures of this on the website, to be honest, because just time. I did renders, and then the renders weren't super accurate enough in terms of colour. So it's one of the things I started slowly doing. We now have real photos from the front of these, but that's it. You don't really get to see them like this. So, right. Let's get these out of the way. And then we have the posi screwdriver. Oh, well, yeah, this is all posi because it's our screws. It almost feels wrong to not reshell it though now. I'm half tempted to go grab a shell, but I can't be bothered at the minute. Because we have a really nice clear purple as well, but I do like the green. So I'm going to stick with the green. And we actually have a new speaker as well. So I might get, if we have the new speaker up here, I might at least do the speaker. We don't need that on anymore. We can fold that into shape. Undo the buttons. Right, so what we need to do is set that shell apart. Hey, welcome in. So you can see we have, obviously I've got all the mods on this. I've got the Clean Amp Pro, which boosts the audio. We've got the de-hum kit, which removes the hum and buzz from the console. Power switch will have been cleaned. Then we have the clean light in the background, this white one, the old one, I'm going to remove. And then obviously this is the ribbon cable to the clean screen. What we're doing is I'm modding my personal Game Boy. Well, upgrading it, basically, with a new product. So I've got my old green console here, GBA, and I'm going to fit the new clean light and this new power regulator board, which I still need to try and figure out even more of a way to filter, because the only problem with the RGBs and the addressable LEDs is they're going to add a little bit of noise to the audio, and I want to fix that fully. So this helps a ton, but you still get a tiny bit of noise. So I'd ideally, like that's what it is for now, every RGB LED kit for the Game Boy Advance adds this noise, and ours actually adds the least amount of noise, but there's still a little bit, so that's something I want to address. This is a Game Boy Advance. I can't turn it over at the minute because all the buttons will fall out, but you'll see when we've screwed it back together. So to get this out, we are going to need to probably desolder the ribbon as well. The button ribbon for, and I'm probably just going to take the button ribbon off, to be honest, to get it out of the way first. So this is for the clean screen, for the on-screen menu. So it's not strictly needed, but obviously for mine, I do it. And we want to install this first, really, when we solder it back down, because it goes just under there. So I just want to remove it for now, and it's probably going to just have to go straight back on once we've removed the old clean screen. So we'll get it off this trigger spring. The new one doesn't solder to the trigger spring anymore because people were struggling to do this connection here to actually get it to solder to that. So we moved the ground away from there for this new one. We have then TP3, TP2, and then we have the shared pad with the clean amp. We have another trigger, and finally the top trigger. Oop. There we go. So that's the old one off. Just going to move them out of the way. And the new one, because of basically, I don't know what made me miss it or find out, but when I made this board, I designed it all worked great. And then when I made it mass produced, this has been made for about 2 months, 2.5 months. Once I put it in another Game Boy, so I don't think it happens in all Game Boys, but it happened in enough. If you max this out with full brightness and you have, say, like a modded screen and you max that out as well, then it was causing the console to randomly reboot. So it's something that I didn't spot in the initial production run. So obviously that's why I didn't put them on sale. People have been waiting for these for ages now. Adding any mods? Yeah, we've got the clean amp already and the dehum and the clean screen, but we're just replacing the clean light for this new one. So yeah, this was basically resetting the console, and it's because the 5-volt rail from this regulator cannot handle the power at all. So what I did is, and unfortunately that just means this install is a little bit more involved than it needed to be for the first version, but that's just what it is. It'll come with this regulator, so this is effectively like a mini clean power, if you will, designed specifically for the clean light. So this will be integrated, you know, like onto here for the next revision. It'll just be built into the whole process of it. But for now, we have to, instead of soldering this 5-volt pin, so everything else is obvious, you just solder the pads where they line up. This 5-volt pin, though, we need to cover it here. Otherwise, it's going to touch on the 5-volt pad, which is there. So you've got two options. You either cover this pad up, which is probably what I'm going to do, or you'd cover this pad up. Now, it doesn't actually come at the minute with anything to cover it up with, in a sense, like a little bit of tape. It was too hard to include. So what you'll have to do is cover it up somehow. So masking tape, electrical tape, anything will do, basically. That's just how this install has to be, unfortunately. It was something that we didn't spot until, like I say, it got into full production and it was done, and I've got 1,000 of these boards, and then I noticed the problem, unfortunately. So the only thing you want to do if you are taping the 5-volt rail is, if we place this, oh, that's the wrong one. If we place this one over, you want to make sure you're not taping the up and the start as well. So if you hovered this over where it's going to be, which is like that, you'd see the 5-volt pad there, which we don't want to solder to, and then these. So you want to tape it from here going this way and not covering that pad there. So basically, if I just stick some tape over that pad, you can see there, you don't want to cover there. So just going from the edge of the pad across should be enough. You can cover that however you like, but just don't solder onto the 5-volt. And then when this goes down now, you can see you've got all the other pads exposed, so we can solder to them. So it's just one of them things. It wasn't ideal, but the solution was either scrap 1,000 clean light and remake them at a quite expense, then I'd have to release it even more expensive, or we just solder this little power board on I've made now. So that's the tricky bit done, in a sense, the bit you have to do. And now all we've got to do is solder all these pads on. So everywhere they line up, we just solder on. And this LT is actually shared now, so I can solder onto that LT and then just solder the flex ribbon for the clean screen after. So let's do that first. So the soldering should be nice and easy. I'd solder on 1 point. You can see down here slightly off there. So try to get 1 point aligned. So say this left one, the furthest most one, and blob solder on him. All you want to do is apply solder, plenty of it, wait a few seconds, and that will now be on. And then you can, oh, he says it's on, that's not on. So you might want to pre-tin the pads if you like, but I'm going to instead use a bit of flux for that. And then if you can't see through now, you might want to, with it being the first pad, we can do that, and now it shouldn't move. There you go. So it's on now because you can't move the board. So just give it a little bit of flux in a few seconds and you'll flow through. These all look like they're lining up well enough to tack onto. Same with the select. So let's go over the far end now. Let's do the other extreme. And you can see this one wants to come down slightly, but this blob of solder from the old install is stopping it a little bit. So that's making it not want to come down. There we go. And then you've got them 3 pads there. So we've got the existing one we soldered to and 2 others. So we're going to solder these 2 extremes, and that's then the board tacked into a position where all the pads should be visible. So while it's over there, the RT's got some solder on already. I'm going to push down. There we go, solid. So now do the same for the others. Just feed plenty of solder through and push down, just so you know you're getting to the pad underneath. And leave it a second, and then you know you're on. And we'll test all these buttons after. So, well, the way you'll know these are soldered or not is the clean light actually adds new buttons, you'll notice. So see how now you've got brand new pads? So if one of the issues of your Game Boy was your pads aren't that responsive because they're old, this replaces all the pads now. So on top of getting the clean light that you can also turn off, these act as brand new button pads for your GBA. It's like a double benefit. And this is a mod people sell on its own. So this is something that people would buy on its own, basically. We are fixing, well, we're not fixing, we're modding my own Game Boy Advanced. We are adding, oh, there we go again. TikTok's banned us again. This is getting ridiculous. Redirect, how is it redirecting products to pages outside of TikTok? I'm just going to end up stop streaming on TikTok. It's ridiculous. What have we done so far to upsell anything? I'm just working away on my own. I'm not even selling anything. TikTok is crazy. So you guys might not see it on TikTok for much longer because it's starting to piss me off, quite frankly. Just constantly banning me and restricting the views. So there's no point listing on it at this stage. I'll probably end up going back to a different platform for TikTok and getting rid of it altogether for the streams at this rate. Alt. Oh, that's a bit messy. Clean the iron. Yeah, nice and early this morning. Get a good start in. And the down button. Just having a rant about how shit TikTok is. It's literally banned me again after 15 minutes, saying I'm selling products that are outside a TikTok shop, which is, I don't even understand. I've never once in the stream told people to go and buy anything. It's just a weird platform. They just seem to complain about everything. So I'm saying I'll probably stop streaming on TikTok at this rate. Even though it's the most interactive one, we get the most, well, we did get the most comments till we started blocking it a few days ago. Now we get next to none because they're blocking it. So just make sure you clean all the flux up as well, because obviously these are acting as new button pads for the system. So you want to make sure they're nice and clean. Right, have we done everything? We've got the 3 pads there. Ground pad here. Let's not forget that one. Just try not to melt the USB port as well, because that is used for potential future programming if I release this open source or release custom. I can literally release custom files for you if you wanted custom color modes, so try not to melt that. And I think that's all on. So the only thing here is then the kit now comes with this. So we have pre-strip wires, so it's easier to use. Hopefully these aren't too thick. They might be too thick. But the idea is this is just a regulator, a tiny regulator that passes in the input from, say, down here, the ground to any ground, and the output to the 5 volts. I found a spot that worked perfect was here, I think it was. Pretty sure that was where we ended up putting it. And then these are obviously oversized, so you can either use them as is or cut them. These were meant to be cut a certain size, and they're just way oversized. So let's peel the little backing tape off. So this has a little bit of double-sided tape on the back. And you can see we've got the little logo behind there. And this is just a tiny power board that can handle like 100 milliamps, but the 1 or 200 milliamps. But that's all these pull at max power, so it's perfectly fine. And then we go down and we solder this on. And this is my first time trying this new board. I've got 500 made. I did test the board itself work though, so I know it works, but this is the first time installing the final production runs. I'm going to put black as the ground, and then we'll find the best place for the ground. So that tack's on there. You can see these wires are a bit long as well, so I'd probably recommend just trimming that end a little bit. You don't need the big long end. And then you can just tack that on now to ground. So there's the ground pad. Let's find the best place for ground, or the easiest place for you guys. One is obviously right here. So that's probably not a bad place to solder the ground to, which I might just do that. It's nice and close. So I'm going to cut that short. I probably should have stripped this wire before attaching it, because I might pull the wire. So let's take that off. Strip this end again. That. And then we'll solder him back on to that ground. But you can pick any ground you like, whatever you want to follow. The guide where I'm going to install everything, then you know it's going to be the same. So that's there. This bit is the ground here. So it's a little bit of a tricky ground, to be honest, because you might end up melting this. So I might advise just to probe around for another ground. Basically, you can just go on. You can either go all the way over to here. All we have to bear in mind is we're passing through the shell here to get to points, and this is where we don't want the shell pushing on, which I don't know whether it will. It won't in our shells. It's all cut out to allow ribbons to flow through, but the original shells have a wall running down here, so you instead of having to mess with that wall or trim, you want to try and avoid that pot. So in now is the in from down here, and to be honest, I forget what we're tapping off because I designed this about a month ago. So let me just look at what we're doing. I can remember it's this pin. This was like the easiest place to find the pin, but I think it's tapping off the raw power. So I think it's literally basically coming off this switch, the on position of the switch, if I remember rightly. So instead of soldering to the C paddle there or onto here, a good point, a tap off point was here. Basically, I think that's what it was. So we might reconsider that position at the minute because we don't want it running over here. Considering the kits come with quite thick wire, I don't want to run this wire like this. It's too thick, it's going to get in the way. So let's just find a better place for that. Yeah, Blackmagic is as good as well, not as good as a microscope, but good enough. So if you do like a full zoom and you're trying to solder this CPU, you can go all zoomed in, then you can go digital, and then if you focus with the wheel, you can get like that. So you can get pretty much as close to a microscope view as you need for working on. So I'm looking at my screen basically to see that, and I can see everything I need to. So obviously there's the size of my finger. So that's as zoomy as I need. This bit's a digital. That's the pure lens zoom. But this is this is a 6K lens cropped down to 1K. So if I was streaming at 6K, I'd have even more resolution. So then this kind of digital zoom would be actual pure zoom, not digital. But it's good enough for what I need anyway. Right, I'm just going to look at the... I've got so many hardware projects open. I'm just going to look at the... Actually, now I just need the GBA schematic, don't I? What am I doing? Schematics, GBA schematic. I just want to see... if I can find, which I can, what were we tapping off? Pin 8. The top 2, bottom 2. So yeah, that is a point that we're basically tapping off the power switch common. So there's a test pad called VN, which will be on top of here somewhere, which is probably not exposed. Unless it's down there, so that's going to be down there. I think the pad's going to be down there. I just don't like the solution is it's that or L1. Is that the other side? Oh, it's all the way over there. Yeah, and that's everything we need to tap off to is basically in this area. So we've got to get the power down here, which means we're going to be running through this. I don't want it to run through here, but we've obviously installed this already, but I install it with thin wire. I'm trying to install it with the wire that comes in the kit, just so it's the same experience you guys will get. But if you've got thinner wire, I'd recommend just using the thin wire for this one. Otherwise, you've got a thick wire here that you're going to have to run up and through. And I don't think anything pokes through this hole. I think it just rests on the hole to lock it in. So I think we can come through here between there. And then this one wants to go to the input over here. So let's try that. And as I mentioned, this will be the next version of it. This would be baked in. This was just something that we couldn't avoid because of the power issue we found on some Game Boys after mass producing the clean light. And then we discovered that some Game Boys, if you're max modding them, power off. So that will go, say, under there, tacked onto there. And then that will, if you do the right length, that's roughly where it wants to be. So the rubbers will sit around this curve and miss it, and this rubber will sit just around here. So you really want to try and get it accurately positioned so it sits between, you know, this line here, like that, but it's going to naturally want to move a bit. And then we'll put on the output now, and this output is just a regulated 5 volts that will go now back to the clean light to give the clean light its own power supply. And this keeps a bit of the noise off the system in general, but it also prevents the system from resetting due to overloading the 5 volt rail, basically. So that one wants to be a nice short one to there. And remember, don't go too long on this 5 volt pad because we don't want to melt through the tape we put underneath and it actually solder to the Game Boy. That's the whole point. We want to keep this out the way of the Game Boy's 5 volt rail. Just sits on top of where the via was. So if we then tack that down. So that's the install done. That's, like I say, without this bodge up in a way, this won't be needed on the next revision, and all these wires and all the tape, but that's just, unfortunately, if you want to buy the GBA clean light RGB at the minute, that's the install process. So it's not terrible, but it can be simpler, and it will be simpler, obviously, on the next revision. So if we've done all that right, I should have fully configurable RGB lights. We need to now put this menu back on, so the menu ribbon. So we're going to slide him underneath there, I presume. And then this will be, yep, over there. So that's not too bad. So I'd install the clean light first in this instance. Then we'll get the AL, can sit on top of this AL. So just line it up over the top, blob your iron on, and he's on. Same down here, the selector's got to select, so go onto here, blob on, he's on. And now this going over there, we can probably put this, I'd say, over the top. Like that, just so it's a bit neater. There we go, and then this goes all the way over, and this goes to RT. So RT is obviously the top one there. So that's the ribbon back on. And now we can reassemble. So that's probably, well, it shouldn't be that tricky, to be honest, thinking about it. Let's get rid of them marks. Let's go over here, and then we can play with all the colours. So this is actually the first time I've demoed this at all. This is like the production one that, like I said, sat here for months because of that issue. And I had to get 500 of these all made. So these are all them power boards, and I've got to add all them manually to the clean light bags, and I've got to program them all manually. So it was a bit of a pain, this product. It's the first clean light RGB though, so The first ones are always a bit, stuff like this, it never goes fully smooth when you go to production. And, with a brand new kind of product, we've not done the RGB lighting before, so I've written the entire code base. Obviously, I'm a software developer, so that was easy. I haven't used any libraries like most other people. I've written the entire LED code base, the thing that drives them, the color maps, everything. So this code's all unique to me, and I'd like to think I've made it very intuitive as well. So you'll see when it's on. I've tried to keep it. I shouldn't even need a manual because I should remember. I've tried to make it that simple that it's kind of obvious as much as it can be, that you can change and control all these lights from button presses. In future, I can add support if I'm bothered about it. We're not sure whether we want to yet. I can add support through the USB port at the back. So one of the goals was on the clean juice. I was going to add the pass-through on this USB that then goes through into the system, but to stop complexity at the minute, I haven't bothered. I think the way it is at the minute will be fine. I don't think we need to add any other complexity yet. You can do it from the button presses, so I don't think it's really needed. Right, so that's in there. That's got the bit of padding on there. Flip over. And it's been a while since I built a Game Boy. Zach always does these, so bear with me while I remember what I'm even doing. So I remember he comes out. He goes into this connector. And I haven't got to put any buttons in yet, I don't know, they're all still in. Cool. So that's the ribbon in, and then normally I just tuck the ribbon under like that, and it doesn't need anything else holding it in, then it just sits there. Hold this in here, get the screen plugged in. So we hold that tight, we can check. Yep, everything's there. You can also see, because this is a clear shell, you can see that wire, unfortunately glaring red wire. I might change that on mine. But for now I'm going to leave it in because I'm going to reshell this. But you can see, we know it's positioned right, as I guess a benefit, because you can see where it's ran through. But yeah, if you want that not to show up like that horridly, then use thinner wire. You could also run it behind, underneath and to the C pad of the power switch if we wanted. So if you didn't want that on showing yours, you can tack it on either of these two pins on the power switch or the cap here. Any of them points that wire can go to. I was just trying to use this kit as it comes, but for those doing this professionally, if you will, I wouldn't use this thick wire that comes with it. I'd just use some enamel wire and run it cleanly from the clean light, probably just up through here down into this power switch for now. Or there's a VIN pad on the front, basically. So there's cleaner ways to do that. But considering I'll reshell this probably with black buttons and a new shell, we'll redo that when we reshell. For now, we just want to test this basically. Where are all the screws? Screwdriver. And then I'll probably make an official little write-up guide for this as well on the wiki. This is obviously just showing it off and testing it on stream before I do actually release it for sale, because it's still not out for sale yet until I've done this install and test. But once it comes out, I'm going to write a full guide on the wiki, and I'll probably find the nicest spot for that wire, basically. See if there's like a nicer spot. Yeah, the lights are for Game Boy Advance. You're about to see them light up these buttons. So let's get the final power switch in. Now the back on. Set. And then some screws back in. Do we quickly test that it works before we screw it together, to be honest? Because that's a lot of screws to take out if it's gone wrong. Oh yeah, there we go. So lights up, so we know it's working, at least on the screws, on the basic light profile, which is, I think, defaulted to red, if I remember rightly, which obviously it is. But then the fun starts when you customize this and you realize how much customization this has got. And I can obviously update the code and add features, and you guys can update the product yourself. You can just drag and drop a file from your PC to update the clean light. So this is something you can, buy now and then update if you want. Hey, morning, Tom. Yeah, it's never too late getting to coding. I teach, in a sense, I teach coding. It's not exactly entry level, but I teach coding on Angel 6. There is some, to be honest, classes on there for basics. And I do, at the minute, I'm doing consulting for Avalonia. So I do a lot of videos for them while making some real world products as well. So you could always browse on them. I'm releasing a video this morning after this one. I'll be jumping onto the Angel 6 side of things and making a video there as well. So if you wanted to do coding, you can look on there. Right, so now, the problem this is going to have is, on the overhead, zoomed out max, you can see it on the horizontal, you can see the nice dirty screen, but you can't see it on the vertical, it's too zoomed in. So we're kind of limited on a view here. Let's get that cleanish. I almost want to put, what I might start putting on lenses is the oleophobic coating like phones have to try and keep fingerprints off more. Yeah, so to show this off, where do you find the lessons? Go to youtube.com/angel6 and then go to playlists, and they're all grouped in playlists. There's tons. That's a bit loud. There's playlists for years on there. I screwed this all together. We didn't actually test if it fully works. So the only thing is, like I said, I'm going to have to try and get this camera in some kind of angle so that the, there you go, that's not too bad. The light on there looks orangey. That's red. That's pure red to my eye. So that camera is not doing the color justice. That's a deep, pure red. Let me try and turn the lights off. That's one light. There we go. See how it adjusted and it was red and then it's gone back to not red. So that's the red. Now, this should override all buttons. So the first thing I want to do is test all my buttons still work in game. And if it does, then we'll play with the lighting. You can update the code because I'll release one of these. So little USB plug that you can just plug into that connector and then plug this into your computer. So I'll sell that separate because 99% of people won't want to reprogram this, but I'll sell it for a few pounds, just that USB plug. And that'll program most of our products going forward. Right, so let me test Pokemon Works. Reduce battery life, yes and no. If you, the max brightness that you never really run it, it'll draw 100 milliamps. But you can turn these fully off. You can have them just for show. They don't have to be on. So let me just test all my buttons work first. So we got the start. Select, I don't think I've got anything on yet. Yeah, the bag's empty. Oh, there you go. So right isn't on, and up isn't on. So I've done a poor job of the right and up. The start, Oh yeah, so I've got to make sure I can only go down at the minute. Ash, in, out. So right and up. Did I miss them pads? But I've soldered them bad either way. So we'll have to go and fix that. The tabbing, we need a GBO game to really test the Allen-R. So we just put put a GBO game in, turn on, Allen-R, grow and shrink. So that's fine. So up and right, I've got bad solder joints on. So let's just quickly fix that. I could have probably tested that as well. But I've obviously just done a bad job of soldering there. Oh, nice focus there, camera. You're going to refocus for me? No? You're just going to sit there out of focus, are you? There we go. Right, so let's quickly whip this open, and then we can... I should have just put 2 screws in. I knew that was going to end up happening. Yeah, that's no worries. Like I say, the video guides are on youtube.com/angel6, and then playlists, and I organise them all in there. Yeah, that's literally what we already do. So this is rechargeable batteries, and it has a USB-C mod. So the Clean Juice AA is just about to come out in 2 weeks, and then you plug it in, and you've got a USB hole in your battery cover. So we've already got that covered. That's already in this one. We tested that on the last stream. Right, so that's off. We've got to get these off again. See how much quicker it is the second time when you remember what you're doing. So right and up it was. I've got a strange feeling I haven't even soldered them on, but we did look around, so they just must not be soldered well. And that's there. Can we leave this on? We'll flip over. Speakers stuck in. I'm going to redo them speaker-wise as well, because with all of the pulling on these speakers, I know they end up getting fragile when you open and close. I do remember that from working on them semi-regular. Yeah, the shell colour is one of my favourites. It's if you go to retro6.co.uk and then mods and something. It's called mods and something there. Third option. And then I go to Game Boy Advanced and then shells. There's like a single listing for all the shells. And that's where you find it. It's the clear yellow, it's called. Right, so up and right. They both look okay. Nothing wrong with them, but they obviously... Oh. It's just, it might be a dirty rubber pad. Look at that. Is it coincidental that they've got... Like, what is that? What's happened to the rubber? Did I just put the rubber in slanted? I think, yeah, the rubber's just slanted. I think, look how far off it is and how dirty it is. How has that got dirty just sitting in my console? This isn't even an old rubber. So, let's clean the rubber pad. Wow, yeah. Don't know how that got so dirty so quick, so I've just rubbed that clean a little bit. I'll reflow the pins, but I'm 99% sure them pins were fine. It was just the rubber pad, and it's probably this fat wire. So I'll tell you what, this is how you can install it with the wire here. But the other option is use your own wire, so it's thinner, which is what I'm going to do. But the kit comes with wire if you haven't got wire. It's just, I did tell the factory to give me 28 AWG wire, which they've done, but they've given me a frigging 4mm thick insulation, which I suppose I didn't specify not to do that, but I was expecting it come like, you know, super thin wire. So if we do this now, we could have that wire going there. We could just wrap it round. So we'll go down here, wrap it under, and then let's just go to the power switch. So this is your other option. So it's not visible in the shell. And then that was probably what was causing me to push the rubber over by mistake when I've installed it. I probably haven't noticed. You should be able to still install it with the wire there. but it's probably naturally nudged that rubber over and I wasn't paying attention. I'll tack onto this cap actually, it's a bit easier. Yeah, I think that's more of a quality issue. I'm going to confirm with the factory that double check the quality of that rubber, because I think they, at this stage, I've had this console a while, so this is probably 5-6 years old, but I'm sure these were our rubbers back then. We now make all our own products, so maybe these are old rubbers that aren't ours. But yeah, I wouldn't have expected that to go like that so soon. All right, so we've got that on there. That's now just out the way. The wire's that thin, you don't really have to worry about where this is going to go or get trapped, because it won't really catch on anything that's that thin. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Clean that goop off. But that gives us a visual indicator of what the problem was. I'm not going to reflow them pins because I do think it was just the rubber. So let's see if my soldering was good, because I trust that the soldering was fine. I think what I've done is when I've come to assemble it, then I think this rubber on here wasn't in place when I've assembled it. The red cap is free floating. This is a dehung kit. So these are just on a flex ribbon. They solder to ground, the power here, and 2 points up here. And then these are literally flapping. You can solder that C54. It's just an anchor, but does nothing. But when it's in the shell touches on one of these and it doesn't go anywhere. So you've got an optional pad there you can solder. But this will still, even if you solder that, this will still just wobble because it's on a flexible circuit board. You know, it's not going anywhere inside the shell though, it touches. Let's resolder the speaker now. And that wire was almost breaking on the amp, because if you're opening these up to work on them, typically you want to desolder your speaker so you're not flapping it in the wind while you're turning the console over, because then it eventually rips. And I do have a new clear speaker for this, but again, I'm not going to bother with the other upgrades for now, because I will come back and revamp this and reshell it fairly soon. Once I've got the lights in and I like the look of it, we'll come back. Oh, yeah, that has been the issue. So when I've disassembled it and not really moved things about, look at the position of the rubber. There's the button. There's the D-pad. So the D-pad's not really pressing them. So it's just me not paying attention when I've assembled it, or when I've disassembled it, I haven't really paid attention to when I'm putting it back in. So just an oversight, because I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing. So that's in there now, locked on them 2 tabs. That's in, that's in. So that should be good this time. I tend to find that when I'm on the stream, I start talking away and looking at the screen and not paying attention to what I'm doing sometimes. So fixing, we are modding my personal Game Boy Advance, and I'm just adding the brand new clean light RGB, so color changing LEDs. And I would if a speaker would go in. Keeps catching on the sticky tape before it's in the position it needs to be in. Alright, so that D-pad's in fine. You know, I did actually think the D-pad felt a little bit weird when I was screwing it down, to be honest. Right, that's in there. Let's get a couple of screws in to hold this in place a minute. Realise that camera's still zoomed in as well. And this time we will just hold it together to test the buttons maybe, so I don't have to keep screwing and unscrewing everything if something else is wrong. But it looks like it was just an assembly issue, to be honest. Alright, that's that in. Let's put the OSD ribbon back in for the clean screen. Put the actual clean screen ribbon back in. otherwise we won't be seeing anything on screen. That's it. And now we can do triggers, bumpers, power switch, and then we'll just hold it together. Tip all them screws out the back a minute. Right, so let's hold this one in place and ignore the screws for now. And let's just check that all them buttons work. Oh, this is going to be annoying holding it together when it's trying to fall apart. Oh, no, of course not. Now I've messed up the clean screen ribbon. I think I've got it slightly slanted there, maybe. Oh no, it might look like I've damaged the screen. There we go, yeah, I just slanted the ribbon slightly. That's for trying to hold it together and not screw it together. But if we can just get into game now to prove that this up and right issue's fixed, we'll screw it together. I'll probably turn that brightness up as well a little bit for this, and oh, yeah, using this without screwing it together is a pain. Everything wants to move. Let's turn the pixel grid off as well, just for visual. Wait for the screen to go off. I don't think the screen is going to go off because of the ribbons not being installed, maybe. Or if we got one of the ribbons not working. Oh, let's first test. Yeah, so typical, the up and right are likely going to be the solder pads. So that's why we didn't screw it together. It's either that or, well, there's got to be that really. That's all it can be. And then up and right wouldn't stop the OSD on this working either. I'm having fun on this one. So flip him over. Let's just re-blob solder on the up and right then. Push down while I'm soldering. Wait for that go up to temp. So that should be that. That's on, that's on, that's on. Yeah, that should be fine. Don't think there's anything else I'm missing. This ribbon I think was getting a bit crushed when we assembled it as well. That was why the on-screen menu was a bit dice. It's been opened up that many times with it being mine, we might have to swap the button ribbon around after. So does this work? I'm not even going to put screws in the PCB for now then, because we don't want to keep screwing and unscrewing this to test the buttons. Let's just make sure that's on. So it just looks like I hadn't soldered them on, as well as the fact I think the D-pad was tilted. So let's just leave that all fully as is. I don't need the triggers, so I'm not even going to put the bumpers in for now. Let's just literally power up and see if those up and right now work. That's what we're going to do. And you watch the time, we haven't done anything. It'll now work, and we'll have to disassemble it. We also got the speaker wire snapped off with pulling. Yep, so I've got to fix that. Go into here. No, what the? I don't understand that. That's bizarre. The up is definitely not working. Okay, we'll bench power this because something strange is going on. Definitely something out the ordinary is going on with this. Either that or we've got a bad clean light. But this is first one out of the production run, so it shouldn't be bad. Be a little bit concerning if it is, because the thing is the actually no, it can't even be that because the pass-throughs, they just pass through the board. So yeah, the speaker is going for now because that gets in the way. It's come off that pad anyway. This is what you get for trying to ignore parts and rush it through. Trying to expose the solder pad on this speaker, so I don't have to grab another one. So I don't have one to hand, I don't think. There we go. That's the speaker ready to put back on whenever. We'll ignore that for now then. We will get the bench power. I probably should have done this from the start considering I've got the equipment, but no, I do keep putting this. I'm doing something with this rubber. Oh, this rubber's dodged because it's gone back in the complete wrong position again. It's twisting when I'm assembling it. I'm obviously doing something. These rubbers are sliding and being completely out, so you can see visually I've completely moved it. But either way, let's test it from bench so I don't go. Mind you, that's quite hard to do. Now let's do one once more, and let me just watch what I'm doing with this assembly because something doesn't add up here. It shouldn't be moving out of position. So that's in position. The up and right are there, but you can see it's clearly out of position there. And I know these are in position because I've drawn over the pads and we've installed multiple of these, so it's not like they're actually physically in the wrong position. But is which way is it there? I don't think you'll see them dots on the screen, will you? Yeah, it's moved again already when I've taken it out. I think this rubber's just slipping, so that was already twisted like that. But then when it's in the shell, it won't twist. So I guess first thing, put the rubbers over. Which way is it? That way. This is the front, so you flip over, that's left. So it goes on like this, goes over there and over there. So you can see if we line it up properly, it should be over the buttons fine, like that. So they should be covering the buttons and pressing. So if something is slipping, then it's going to be out. We should almost be able to see. We could assemble it without the D-pad and press through, I guess, as one quick way of testing this. So put this in, and then we can visibly see that nothing's twisted. Yeah, this is the new soldering iron. It has a cool, in fact, I'll show you this view, it's a bit better. It's got a cool little coffee sign when it goes to sleep. So it's just a slimmer profile iron. It's a bit cheaper feeling. It's all a bit more plasticky, you know, and but the screen's good enough. Shows a coffee cup when I need to get a coffee, which is ace. And it works just as good, really. I don't think there's any issues with the functionality of it's the same. And now I've got more desk space because it's slimmer. And it was only 50 quid, I think, off AliExpress. Yeah, it could also be the rubber with it being gumpy on them too. I just think it's crazy bad luck that we're having this amount of issues with. But like I say, this is my personal one that I use for testing every product. So this has been open and closed probably 50 times, I bet. So it really is not exactly out of the question that it could be. Could be that. Right, so no sound, no game, no power switch. There we go. We can see that's lined up to me. So we can see the pads are lined up there. So now we can go into the game. This menu ribbon is not plugged in, so that's going to show up because the ribbon's not in, basically, so you can ignore that. So now we can go, we can go left. See, now right isn't working. Up isn't working. Down is. So is the rubber bad? Let's just get rid of this rubber. Come on, get out. The lazy way of getting the rubber out, because I'm not disassembling this thing again. I'm managing to touch the brightness without the... How is that managing to work when the ribbon isn't connected for the brightness? Let's toggle power on and off. And let's try and wedge in a little rubber into here. But yeah, I think it's actually just the... Looks like just that D-pad is... Hopefully the D-pad is the problem. So I'll go through there. Get into the game. And now does this one work? No, what has gone on? I can only think then. That is strange. So it's actually not functioning on. Yeah, that is bizarre. So let's see what's going on. Let's we're gonna have to test it to the CPU, I think. And like I say, we can't really have, it's not like this is faulty, like this thing here, because these pads are just purely pass-through. So, well, I say it's not faulty, that could mean the pads passing through aren't working, but we've already installed these already, like even though this is the first production one, it's from the same batch, so we've already pre-installed these. So let's do a bit of testing. I didn't expect to have to diagnose this. So let's start with some obvious ground. Ground on the battery is ground on, say, a working pad. Yeah, the up and right, it's not the dirt, that's the, well, it is dirt, it's coming off this carbon pad. Every time we're pressing, it's leaving a gunk, so we need to replace it. But that wouldn't stop it working when we pass through. So you've got the ground, 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 ground. And now the left on here obviously goes to the left here. Sorry, the left here goes to the left, the down to the down, the up to the up, the right to the right. And then these should go, so let's start with a working one, a down, should go to the CPU somewhere. You bet it's going to be under there. So down is somewhere under there. Right should be as well. And the right is not. So that would make sense why. But the question is why? Is this slanted and those solder pads aren't good, and all along it was what we originally thought it might be, which is the soldering I've done just not been hitting them pads. So to see, let's just desolder wick them off and see if we can see maybe they aren't lined up with the pads. Again, that'll just be me not paying attention if so to the pads being lined up. Wow, can't get the solder wick out. Jeez. There we go. Right, so we've got Gootwick solder wick this time, so the good stuff. Tiny bit of it. Desolder wick this up. Probably don't even need flux because this is the good desolder wick stuff. No, the pads are there, they're just not soldered. They're still gold. So even though I put all that on, we didn't put flux on, did we? So it might be worth, for people, because that looks like it's fairly easy to do, pre-tinning the pads underneath so you know they've got solder on, but it is literally just a case of not soldered. So I suppose the check you can also do is the check I showed you. It's not that hard to do. I was just being overconfident because I say Game Boys are easy to work on, so it's purposely showing me up. You can do the soldering like that, and then what you want to do is get your multimeter, tap on one of the pads, and then just drag down this side of the CPU, it seems. And you can see now it's actually connected. So somewhere down here, and that one somewhere down there. So you can go through all them buttons and test they actually go to the CPU. The LT, I think, goes through a resistor, so you might not get a beep. But the A, B, start, select, up, down, left, right, they'll all bell out to a pin on the CPU if you wanted to check that. The rest of the pins we know work. So now I've just got to fix all this mess, opening it up and not putting it back together right and stuff. So we'll need now a new rubber, because I ripped the rubber out thinking it was the rubber. But to be honest, that is going gumpy, so we kind of want a new one. If we've got clear black buttons, I might put clear black buttons in while we're at it now, considering we've turned this into a bit more of a job than it originally was. Let me just clean my desk up a bit now. So yeah, looked like there was nothing wrong other than my shit soldering, basically. So let's get this back on. But I think tinning them and flux, and I was just being, like I say, basically it's laziness. It's thinking a job's nice and easy because you do more advanced stuff. And when you cut corners like that, it shows you up on stream, doesn't it, basically? So it just proves the confidence is the downfall of most people. Definitely just me being too confident there in my soldering ability. Let's see if I've got these rubbers. So we've got, have we got clear black? Oh, we got solid black. I thought we'd got clear black for a minute. So I've got the rubbers. I haven't got, I don't think, any clear black. I don't know why we've got solid black buttons and not clear black up here. Yeah, they're solid black. Come on, I just need one set of clear black. I want to put clear black in now I'm doing this. Anywhere I can rob them from. Any consoles with them here? Nope. That's a customer's. What do you reckon? Do I go grab clear black buttons, or do we stick with the clear for now? I'm going to grab clear black buttons, I think. Actually, no, I'm not, because I've got the only clear rubbers we've got, the start and select, are obviously clear. I've got some clear black rubbers being made, so we'll wait until them clear black rubbers come, and then we'll upgrade this on purpose to the clear black. But let's see if I've got a speaker. I bet I haven't got that either. Oh, we might have. So at least we can do the new speaker. Yes. So we've got the brand new speaker. our logo on, and it's all clear. So that looks better in a clear shell. So at least we'll do that upgrade. But yeah, the clear black rubbers, I'm going to wait until I actually have. Sorry, the clear black buttons, I'll wait until I have the clear black rubber, so it looks correct. Otherwise, you end up with black buttons and then a clear start and select, which looks weird. So, right, soldering was fixed. That wire is just floating, which doesn't matter because it's not seen. And it's my Game Boy, so I am not fussed about that. That's back on. This was giving us grief as well, this on-screen menu. But I think that was probably just because it was floating. So let's presume that's not going to be a problem. And let's get a brand new rubber in. So that's level. That we might as well swap the rubbers. Now I've got a pack out so they're nice and fresh with new ones. The speaker will need soldering on, and this has got thicker wire as well, so it's nicer than the ones we did before, and it's the original shape as well, so it fits in with the little tab. So just a bit nicer than the generic speaker we used to have. This has been made obviously for us, and then our little logo put on. So now this goes here. The speaker will twist over to that way. There we go. And if all goes well, it doesn't, because the solder blob on there is getting in the way of that cage. Why wouldn't it? So that's actually a little bit of an oversight. Well, I say oversight, we've made the speaker and we haven't actually updated the Clean Amp Pro yet. So the solder pads where the speaker goes to go over one of the plastic parts of the speaker. So you've either got to solder them a bit flatter than I've done them, or I've just trimmed the plastic for now. Again, this is my own one, so I can do anything on this. I'm not really that fussed. But that's something I'm remaking the Clean Amp shortly for the GBA anyway, and it's going to add amplification to the headphone port as well. So that'll get redesigned and I'll move those pads over. Right, so I'm going to go in with the screws this time because I'm pretty confident. Although I'm not going to put the screws in the back shell because I'm not that confident, but I want this to hold in place. So at least we're not dealing with the PCB falling out at the same time. This was meant to be a 5-minute job as well to show it off. And this has taken, what, an hour? We are failing to install one of my new products, a Clean Light RGB. So colour changing lights for the Game Boy Advance, but we're having a bit of a nightmare at the minute. Everything's going wrong. Mainly just me not being able to solder my own products in. But hopefully this is now the final assembly, and I can actually show the product off. So it almost worked first time, everything was fine. It's just that the up and right didn't work. Turned out to just be my bad soldering, and I suspected it was everything except me. I presumed it was the rubber pads or the Game Boy or a faulty board. It just turned out it was my soldering. So hopefully now that's sorted, this will work. So let's get these buttons in. This on, and there we go. That also feels like it closes better this time, which is because I've taken my time a little bit. Right then, we going to actually be disappointed again, or are we going to work? So let's get this zoomed in a little bit so you guys can see. Why is that one? Oh, there you go. I'm wondering what's going on with the vertical. Alright, so does the OSD work? I don't know whether I want to disappoint myself and find out this doesn't work. I'm going to ignore that for now. The AL on the clean screen has now come off or not working, but the game works. So I'm going to ignore the clean screen not working for now. We're going to get past that, and I'm not opening this thing up again for now. Let's test if the clean light works. Jeez, get there in a minute. I wanted to turn the brightness up for you, but you can screw that now. New speaker works at least. Right, can we move? Yes, there we go. So turns out you just have to solder correctly. So we've got up, down, left, right, start, select. Obviously we know A and B works because we've come in and out this menu. So let's ignore, yes, it could be the flex ribbon under here, or it could be the solder pad. It's more than likely that the flex ribbon isn't taped in, so the slight twist and it doesn't get the signal, I'm hoping, but we've seen that working before, but I'll figure that one out after. I'm ignoring that for now because I want to show you these lights. So let's turn that volume down. Turn that light off. And now, let me show you what we were meant to be seeing ages ago. So if this works now, what we can do, there's a good position like that. If you hold start and select for 2 seconds, you can see now the select pulses. So this is, if you see select pulsing, turn that right down. If you see the select pulsing, that means you're now in the customization menu. So what you can do is left and right will cycle between color modes. And that is, I wonder if I can tell that camera not to. This is the problem when you're filming lights. That's a lovely yellowy orange color, and on camera it's overexposed. So I'm just going to see if I can force this camera to be a manual exposure a minute. I'm sure I can. I'm just not sure whether. I don't think this one's connected to the PC is the problem. Oh, it isn't. Damn it. This is a pain because this camera I haven't got connected to the PC. Can I connect it to the PC with a big long wire for now? I just want to set it up so that's not going to be long enough. I won't go and charge. Yeah, it just goes to there. Data's a separate pin. Bear with me. I'll try and get this camera so I can set the exposure fixed so we can see these lights properly. Right, this should hopefully be good enough. Or long enough, should I say. The things you do. To be honest, I could probably have a fixed exposure on this anyway because the lighting's always the same on this setup. So I might set it up and then... actually, I can't because when you turn the lights on and off, it wouldn't work. Right, so we're now in here. Let's prove if I'm in here by moving this about. Yeah, so now I'm controlling it with a PC. Where are we then? So autofocus, focus mode, manual zoom. View and gimbal, reset speed, tracking speed fast. So it's none of them. Image, HDR, night view. Night view doesn't help. Oh, night view resets the camera. Let's see. I turned it on and off. Let me turn it on and wait a minute. I didn't realize it was doing something. So no, night mode is no better. HDR won't be. Exposure, so here we go. Exposure, we want auto exposure off. There we go, it's not far off. ISO. Alright, so if I hold that up. See, this is a nice orange. It's not quite right there. Shutter speed. No, keep shutter speed up full. ISO down. Auto brightness compensation. Close-ish. Right, let's now mess with the auto balance. I'm going to have to set all this back up after. Custom white balance. Right, let's see if I can get this looking like it does. So that's way off. It's like a yellowy. Almost yellowy, so none of them really capture that colour. I mean, that's nice. If we go between another mode, for example, that is pure yellow. So that's quite a way off colour-wise. I think it needs to be... Actually, I'll tell you what, let's turn the lights on. And let's see... Nah, there's no way. We've got to leave the lights off. There's definitely no way we're doing it with the lights on. So auto... See, that's not far, but it's not that yellowy. Green, that's way off. So yeah, this camera just can't get the colour. Let's see if I can tweak the colours more. Custom brightness. I'm so screwing this camera up when we come to do anything else with it. Right, so brightness down there. What is going on with the sharpness? Have I like got over sharpness on? Right, we're getting somewhere. So where's that gone? We're not far off visually where we're at. So can I now put white balances back to auto? Can exposure be auto? No, can it, bugger? Well, it can. I could probably leave exposure auto and compensate down. Yeah, there we go. So that's a little less messing with all the settings then. So the only thing I've done is a custom image profile. Let's go back to the other colours then. That's a little bit ready. So actually still pulling this way a bit then. That's yellow and it's not quite yellow. Green, right, it's close enough. So that's what we'll run with for now. So you can't really see much else, but in order to see the lights, and that's the important part, we have obviously this set up to show the lights where they are. Looks like the L button, there's something wrong with the L button because the L is also off on this LED. Let me just turn on and off and see. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with pressing the L, but oh great, the camera's lost focus now. Let me just go back to, there we go, it's focused. I probably with bending this board broke that LED, so ignore the LED not being on there either. So if we go into the menu, you've got now the color profiles. So you go left and right is nice and easy. And you go between your colors. So this is changing all your colors up. These are default profiles, but I've put loads of different profiles in. That one is pure green, by the way, so that's not what it's showing here. That's more like a pure green, which some colors show. I think that's just the nature of this. Oh, that's nice. That is actually that looks almost exactly what I'm seeing as well. That almost looks like glow in the dark, but that's like a mild pastel blue. I've put lots of pastel colors in this, so ignoring that what you see is not exactly gonna be what you see on screen. These colors to the eye are quite different. That's almost pure white and it's showing a bit pinky. That's color mode, so you've got blue one side, red the other, ignoring that we've got a damaged LED up there. That's a rainbow mode. And then I think that's it, and then it goes back to there. So there's your preset color modes that you can go through. So if we left it on colors, you can do up and down. So left and right is pretty obvious. You're moving between color modes. Up and down is brightness, which again, to me is obvious. So you can go all the way off and not even have them on. This will still flash to save in the menu, but when you come out the menu, that'll go off. So you can go up and down on your brightness. So let's go to it's like a nice level of brightness there visually. That shows the colors off better now. And then if you want to save that, you just hold the select to come out the menu, and then it stops bleeping. And now this is your color mode. So if you go back in though, You can also press, I think, if it's RT, is it? Or Alt. Oh, I could press Alt if it was working. Or I might not have enabled it in this mode. I've enabled so you can have reactive button presses, so that when you press a button, it changes colour. Which I think was, I could have sworn it was Alt, but we've obviously got issues with the... actually, let me just do something else. There's holding A, I believe it is, will get you into custom everything mode. Is it A? This might not have the latest code on, because that should get you into there. B should cancel out and reset everything. So if we turn on and off now, that should reset back to red. Yeah, so going in the menu, B, holding B resets, and the one thing that should be working is holding A. So holding A should get us into the custom color mode menu. So we've got a sneaky suspicion this isn't the latest version. So I might have to still work on this. There's still, let me see. Let's just reflash it, because that should work. And let's see what this camera's like now with, I think, going to standard mode. Lights back on. Does that now work okay? So I've got to put in not only the standard mode, I need to remove the compensation. I could do with trying to save that as like an option so I can press a button. Wonder if I can do that on the remote. Like store a color mode so we can go like a night mode. Right, so let's just look at, might as well get this thing working. Why the LT isn't working and the A also isn't working for me. So I think the A button is also poorly soldered, because the A should get us into a custom color mode so you can change every single button individually. And the LT and RT, I'll have to pull up my code. Should one of them enables a reactive mode, and neither of them are working. So I think we've just done even more shit soldering. That you can see why the screen isn't working. That ribbon's slanted. So you see this ribbon, it's been twisted. So we'll take that down. That's why the black tape was on, so it doesn't move. And then the speaker, I don't need that speaker glue holding that speaker in now. That was for the older one. So let's take him out while we're at it. He's no longer needed. And this has turned into a right poor job. So let's test the soldering. Well, for one, this LED doesn't seem to be working. So, and they go in a daisy chain, and LT is the end of the chain. So I'm just going to gently reflow that LED, because I think it's just going to be an LED, or it could be, yeah, it's got to be that really. I say that, but I don't know whether I scratched the board there when I was working. But I've got a feeling it's just going to be this little LED here needs reflowing. I'll try not to melt my button. This should be the perfect guide of how not to install this product. How many mistakes have we got in this that should have been a really simple install? Right, he's reflowed, so that LED's on. The LT is on, but I'm just going to open the schematic and check where we check continuity, because I clearly need to check all my soldering because I'm doing a terrible job. So let's look at where are the buttons. LT will go, I should have basically a, oh, it's a 15 ohm resistor, so we should actually ball out to the CPU, I think. So if we turn on the multimeter and we do the same thing for LT, we should have one of these pins. Yeah, you're not wrong. I think we can merge all these mods into one kit, to be honest. Right, LT, the only way I've got to test in LT is if it goes to my actual Raspberry Pi down here, firstly. Which it should do. Because the other thing is that it can be The ribbon's fine, but the connection to the Raspberry Pi isn't good. Yeah, so it goes to my Raspberry Pi, so that's fine. So now, does that LT go to the CPU? And I think it was pin 119, wherever that is. I think that's still down here with the rest. I think all the buttons go down onto here, and I think it's a 15. Yeah, so that's good. So if that isn't working, oh, I know what it could have been. It could have been this LT ribbon not being in right. Oh, it was. This LT ribbon was twisted here and permanently pressing the button. So that's why it wasn't working. That's why all this wasn't working. Typically, it was just that ribbon. If you open the menu on the clean light with these two and then hold A only, so you've got to hold just A, it'll go into the menu. But because this has been held by ground by mistake by this ribbon being bent, it was stopping that working as well. So it wasn't actually a problem with this. But while we're here, let's finish checking the other buttons that A is actually connected as well, because it might also not be soldered. Yep, and it doesn't look like it's soldered either. Oh, no, it is. Yeah, so it has that, so. Yeah, let's check B, even though B works. Check RT. Yeah, so why is RT down there, but LT's at the top? And just what it is. Just go to the CPU up there. So yeah, all the solder points are definitely good, we know that. So the issue this time was simply this ribbon being bent. That's the only problem we've just had. And that was causing all them weird behaviors, hopefully. And do we... I'm sure this is programmed with the latest code, though. I'm sure it is. But I'll tell you what, while I'm here, why not? Because that'll be the next thing we've got to do, is open it up and reprogram the thing as well. I'm going to reprogram it now and make sure we are on the latest code base, because I was writing the code for this while it was still, while it was already produced and ready for sale. I still hadn't finished writing the code. So I'm going to fail to plug in a cable as well, because that's the theme of this morning. There we go, so that's plugged in. So this will be something you guys can do if you want to. I'll sell this little flexi board. This plugs into the PC now. So I'm going to have to disconnect the camera a minute. Plug in another cable. In fact, I should have just unplugged it from the camera. And then we will hold boot when we plug in, and we should get a pop-up on the screen. Or not. There we go. So we've got the pop-up. I'll get the release code, which I should have actually saved. GBA clean light, releases, software v1.0, paste on. There we go. And that's maybe a sign that it's the new one, because the new one's default, but you can see, oh, I know the problem. I've ripped the LED off there. Or was that not on? So that's why the LT isn't coming on. That we've completely ripped that LED off. Like there's not even pads there, that's screwed. When did that happen? So, and I think that's the only one I've got up here at the minute, because I can't even repair that. That's literally missing. That's, the pads have been swiped. I've caught something because there's a scratch. I think I've caught my tweezers, or when I've been cleaning this and rubbing firm, I've rubbed the bloody LED off. Let me see if I've got another one. Nope. So I'll go grab another one, because there's none here and we can't really assemble that with that on. So let's try that again. Back in 5-ish minutes and I'll get a coffee. And then we've got the chips, loads of them in case I screw another one off. So I need to program one of these. Got a coffee because I clearly need it. I've knocked it off when I was stabbing the rubbers and ripping them out. Yeah, that makes sense. Right, so let's whip this off and put the other one on. So let's pretend this isn't on, and let's see how long this would have typically taken if I'd taken my time and actually paid attention to what I was doing. Because it should literally be a 2-minute job, and I've turned it into a right state of a job. So we'll lift this one off. At least all these pads will be pre-tinned now as well, which will help a little bit. It's probably going to be worse getting it off than it was getting it on, to be honest. Let's do what I said as well. Let's put a bit of flux on to help with all these pads. Is that in focus? Yeah, there we go, focused enough. That one's... Oh, I'm half tempted to hot air this damn thing off. Lifting it off's harder than putting it on. Yeah, it doesn't want to. Sorry, I'm going to hot air this off. This is not one I lift off. Soldered on that well, it doesn't want to come off. That's going to get in my way. Move him out the way. That's going to get in my way. Move him out the way. Right, that's all the stuff out my way. It's either that or this new iron isn't as good as I think for removing, but yeah, getting these pads off. Yeah, they're like cooling down before it lifts off. So the removal is actually more difficult. I'm just going to hot air it off. And I'd probably advise you guys then, if you were going to remove these, to maybe hot air them. But I haven't used this new iron enough to kind of know whether it's this iron. I'm pretty sure the iron's okay. We've done everything else, but saying that, I've had a few joints that haven't worked yet. We're going to have to take that tape off because that's going to melt underneath. The ground we can use an iron on. This will be the same, hot air this side off. Sorry, let's just hot air the ground off. We're going to bin this one anyway, we've ripped it, so that's that off. Oh, and let's touch back down. So there we go, that one in the bin, that are destroyed. This one, let's pretend now, for everybody joining, we've not installed it yet. We're just going to install the new product. So let's just pretend the last hour and 45 minutes I wasn't screwing things up and we're about to start fresh. Right then, so we've installed this, which is the only extra step. We'd stuck it down and attached a few wires and stripped it. So that's like saves a bit of time. But let's now get the new one. I need to program him because this is literally a brand new one with test code that I send the factory that isn't the real production code. So this one will just come on red, I think. It doesn't do anything else. And then we'll have to go into programming mode, paste the new code in, and I think that's why the new code comes on. Yeah, it comes on default in the rainbow by the looks of it. If this is the latest code, which I'm sure it is. Now that's on, we can install it. Right, so we will. I'll do what I said we should have done first, which is tin these pads that we're going to solder to. So what we would do, or what I'd recommend for you guys to do, is pre-tin this left pad here with solder, pre-tin this TP 9, is it, for LT. You're pre-tinning these, which are the up and the right, these two pads by the reset wording. Pre-tin TP3 for start and select. TP3 is start, I believe, TP2 is select. Could be the other way around, but you pre-tin them two as well. And then pre-tin these 3 here. So that's probably what we should have done at the start. And then clean off your flux. So don't leave that on. You can apply fresh after, but don't leave the old stuff on. Right, so that's how we should have started the job. Now we'll place this over and do what we did at the very start, but we'll do it correctly this time. So you can see them all lining up. We need to tape over this 5 volt again because we've covered it. So let's get a tiny bit of tape. And we literally only need a tiny bit. We might as well put a lot smaller piece on than we did the first time around. I think I might need to work on a few more GPAs. I've clearly not worked on these in a while. Fumbling around like I've never worked on them before. So the TP5, the VDD5 there, we'll cover it with tape, like so. So he's not going to touch. And we'll go back over with this, and then we do a simple job of soldering these on. What could possibly go wrong? All you need to do is blob a few points on. So a bit of flux this time. Soldering iron with solder on, and then with your tweezers, push down, warm up. And that's all you should need. Like that. Look how easy that is. Don't know what could possibly go wrong. I'm glad you just joined. We haven't wasted an hour and a half screwing things up. We are just about, for the first time ever, to install this clean light LED on a Game Boy Advanced and show how easy the process is. So all we've got to do is solder these pins down, basically. And then we'll get some nice LEDs on the Game Boy that we can colour change. I'm not even going to test these because I'm confident that they're soldered. And I'm not joking. I'm not going to test that these are soldered either. So that's the ground on. These 3 I didn't even bother lining up, as you can see. They just lined up for me. Because things are going well this time. RT on, A on, B on. I think the key difference was don't skip the flux and pre-tin the pads. I think when you do that, you shouldn't have any issues. We shouldn't have had that many issues in the first place. Just pure bad luck. Well, no, it wasn't. It was a skill issue, but I'm going to say bad luck. Right, now not forgetting the 5 volt quickly tap on because you don't want to melt the tape underneath. And then tack on the yellow. Hey, welcome in. Joining at the perfect time where things haven't gone wrong yet. The ground wire will go to the ground, I believe, yeah. And then this red wire goes to the in, and that's it. So if you do it right, should literally be, what was that, like 2 or 3 minutes? Shouldn't be a big job. Why is my thing not working? One of them plugs has fell out on that cleaner. Right, so is that now all in? We've got the select, the right, up, start, LT, ARB, grounds on there. So now we just put back the clean screen ribbon. And hopefully this will be built and working the first time. Yeah. That on, that on. I'm going to leave that over the top, maybe. Yeah, it makes no difference, just leave that over the top. That can go on the right. That's all the pins in. Now let's assemble. So, my other nemesis, assembling these things. We've got the speaker still on, the D-pad is in, that's on, so we should just place this in, get the speaker in the correct place. Come on, speaker, go in. There we go, and then flop this down, wriggle about. I think everything looks okay there. So all the buttons press. Let's get the screws in while it's steady. I think we just go for a full, what do you reckon, full assembly, or is that a bit stupid? We should maybe at least test the battery's power on at this stage when we see something. I suppose that's a sensible degree of confidence. I don't think we'll go for the full reshell at the minute because we've had so many issues with this. This is a Game Boy Advanced, my Game Boy Advance to be exact, and we're just installing a new product in it, the clean lights, so basically LEDs that you can change the colour of. And as you can tell from the comments, nothing's gone right this morning. What should have been a 5-minute job we've just done in the last 5 minutes, we've actually been doing that for the last hour and a half. Just being too confident with my soldering skills and breaking an LED, ripping a pad, having to fetch new stuff, putting the GBA ribbon in wrong. I think it's fair to say I haven't worked on GBAs much for a while, and I've got too confident, I think, in my ability to put things together and open things up. So I think I've been humbled a little bit on this one. We probably need to start seeing a few Game Boy Advance builds to show I can actually do my job. But all said, this one should work fine now. We've got faith. I'm going to do all the steps that I should have done in the first place that I kept cutting corners. Once that ribbon's in, I'm going to tape him down so he can't wiggle around, hopefully. And that was what was already in there, that's probably why. And then I'm going to tape it down over the top again with a fold in as like a strain relief, just so this thing is not going to move on me. So if you fold it back over and tape over top again, you get like a natural strain relief. So that's in there, holding in. Let's put the back on. Let's test at least the bloody clean screen works, because we'd screwed that up as well with the LT. So not only did we not get the clean light working, I broke what was already working. So I want to see at least something go right. So that's back in. That's on. Put the batteries in backwards now as well. It's going well. They're on. Emerald in. Turn on. No screen, yay! So have I forgot to put the ribbon in, or is that just another bad ribbon again? Or is the brightness down? LCD's in. That's still in there, so let's just play with this ribbon connector. Sometimes the ribbon connector just isn't seated quite right. Yeah, it's just that ribbon connector. I think that ribbon connector's quite dicey because that's happened a few times. Again, it's with opening and closing this console so many times, I'm probably due to replace that screen. But we should be able to just get it right with repositioning this ribbon again. It's definitely this ribbon connector's seen its day with the constant dismantling. Right, let's see if that works. Give me a break. Do I need a new ribbon for the LCD now? They've been opened so many times. I think we probably do. Try once more. One more positional adjustment, and then if not, I'll probably swap this ribbon out because I'm guessing the ribbon is not happy about all this removing and opening. Yeah, sorry, let's get the ribbon swapped. Clean light's working though by the looks of it. Well, it could be the ribbon on the actual the clean screen could just be out the other side slightly, because we are pulling it around because it's not taped down, which is the other thing that it was originally. The board was taped to the screen, and I did originally tell people to do that. Yeah, kind of hanging out. Reconnect that in. Reconnect this in. Why not? Let's get the LCD ribbon in. And let's try that. That's all together enough. No, the brightness this is definitely a ribbon issue at the minute. The fact it's not getting the signals right. It's either a ribbon or the screen, damaging the screen with all the moving around. Why do we have a back screw wobbling around? Oh, because I haven't screwed the board back in yet, but a screw was left in. Yeah, I think that that ribbon or the screen or the board is bad. One of them has died while we've been messing. So let's try another. I mean, this is trying to tell me to upgrade this to the stock screen as well, the thing I keep wanting to do, but I don't want to reshell. That's still attached to me. We need a screen. Let's see if it's the screen or we're gonna have to bend to power this now to test this. If it's the screen, we need to reshell because we don't. Well, actually, no, I've probably still got a laminated line around somewhere, but I do want to upgrade this to non-laminated. I just didn't want to do it yet. So let's see what the problem is. This wants to be 3 volts, will be fine. And then we can turn on. No, so it's going to be the ribbon. So, yeah, so it's this ribbon. You can see as you flex this ribbon here, it goes. So it's not the screen, because we just had the same symptoms then. We just need to swap this ribbon by the looks of it. So that's just, no doubt it's been open and closed that many times with it being my personal Game Boy. So this will just be. See, I don't even think this is fractured. That ribbon looks solid. I think maybe it just needs a clean. It's probably more so this connector, the original. Yeah, it's a little bit weak in there, like a little bit loose. I think it's more so the LCD connector on the Game Boy probably is a little bit worn with the opening and closing. So I'm just going to try and clean this, put IPA on, make the connection nice and clean. Connect that in. And then let's try this again. that speaker already in? Can't even see where the speaker is. The speaker's miles away. Right. 20th time lucky. Do we get the screen? Yeah, there we go. So just a dirty or worn ribbon on the Game Boy itself, which, like I say, this is my personal one. It's well overdue. A shell swap. So now let's screw the motherboard back in. Step one. And I'm in the middle of actually remaking this Game Boy motherboard like a re-PCB, like the Game Gear. And then what I'll do is integrate everything. I'll integrate the clean amp, the de-hum kit, the clean light. I'll probably just put on it, to be honest. I don't know. Well, no, I think it's separate, isn't it? Otherwise, you're bumping the price up of the base product, and people might not want that. But you'll have the clean amp for sure built in. I might as well almost build in. What else can we build in? Yeah, the new one with the headphone one, maybe Bluetooth for Bluetooth headphones, I don't know. But at least we won't have to mess with all these. I'll make like easier connection points for the mods. Right, I think that's it, isn't it? So, power button. Triggers. And then we'll hold the back in, or we'll just put 2 screws in so the shell isn't falling apart, and do a full test, because based on how this is gone, we'll be opening this thing up again. That's all we've... In fact, before I even put screws in, let's just check that LT issue's been fixed on the screen, the brightness issue. Because that was another issue. And we open the menu. There we go. So that's now working again. Right, so let's screw it together. Well, let me just quickly test one other thing. Get into the menu. This is what I wanted to show you before. Holding the A. There we go. Right, so I know it's working. I'll show you what that does in a minute. Finally. So what do you reckon? Shit at me job, or was that bad luck? I think, personally, I was cutting a lot of corners there. I opened it up and there was tape holding the ribbon in. I ignored that and didn't put it back down. My own guide would probably tell me to check all your solder points and pre-tin and use flux, and I didn't bother using flux on the ones that failed. So I think, to be honest, I was just skipping steps, and I know there was a bit of bad luck involved there, but I think that's perfect example of why sometimes you do definitely get a bit too confident in what you do and think you can skip steps, whereas I originally made all these steps for that reason, to make sure other people don't make mistakes, and then I haven't worked on them in a while and I've just ignored all the guidance I used to make for these consoles. So I think I kind of maybe want to build a few of these on stream for that reason, to get back at being good at building these, because it's not something I've built for a while. I leave these to Zach all the time, so he's obviously better at building these than me now. But yeah, that just kind of shows right there that I needed to practice at these. And look at what I've just found here as well. There's the thing we ripped off. It's floating on my desk. So there's the poor little LED that I ripped off with the tweezers as well. So we can go in the bin. I'm missing one screw. I've managed to lose a screw as well. So I'll fit. Well, I'm not even going to bother putting the other screw in, because I'm going to reshell this with black buttons and a clear black rubber anyway. Obviously not right now, but it's going to be done as soon as I get the samples of the clear black rubbers. That's going to be the next thing, so I'm not going to bother putting that other screw in. Nice squeaky clean screen. Right, where we are. Ooh, let's clean up a bit first. Now we know this is all working. Tweezers away. We can put the... oh yeah, I'll put the clean juice back in now as well. Now we're confident it's working. Well, I'm confident it will work now. Put these back down there for me to program. Move them out of the way. Clean my desk a minute. Spare screen can go. Let's clean this desk. These, yeah, the consoles we sell on retro6.co.uk. You go to the website and then there's ready-made if you want to build these consoles up. Select what mods you want. The RGB I'm just about to show you, that'll go live probably today. I just wanted to do this install to check the fully work and obviously get a feel for the best way to advise you to install it, which we figured out this morning based on the work we've done, like a few best places to put things and how to install it. So there'll be a clean light option. I think it might even already be on the ready-made, to be honest, because I know I've got them in stock here. But yeah, if you go to ready-made, you can buy them pre-built. If you don't see something that you want, just leave me a message and I'll basically contact you and let you know and set up a custom order if we need to. But yeah, we build these all day long. We sell tons. Right, so for this install of this product that's now in production, the Clean Juice AA, this is now replacing the Clean Juice with the LiPo battery. So now you can use any rechargeable AAs. These are just Amazon basics. We've got our own being made. They're about, I think, 4 weeks out, the factory said. Then we'll have ones with Retro 6 branding on and 2,500 milliamp hour. But when you get this board, these will come straight instead of bent. Bend them in like this, and then try not to bend them too much. Once you've bent them, leave them in position as much as you can. The best way I've found to install this, put the Clean Juice like this at an angle, or if it's your first time installing it, these legs can stay bent. So let's bend them once. Pretend it's come like this, and we've just bent just this side. So you can hold this upright like this. If I put a sponge under so I can kind of do this. You're going to get the first battery here. We're going to install it in this side. So we're going to hold it there and then just fit your battery like you normally would. So that's the battery in. And now that holds the product in place and it's over there. So that's literally what you want. The next step is to then just fit your second battery. So just go ahead and fit your second battery and make sure you put them the right way around. Second battery's in, you're good. Now this will bend down, and what you want to do is, let's see if I can get this close-ish so you can see. It's going to come, this kit, when it's released, it's going to come with a little plastic spudger, not a metal one like this. Just it'll come in a kit, a little spudger. And the point is, what you want to do is you want to push down here, line this one up with roughly the center of the battery, so like, you know, here, and make sure it's gone down. So you'll see it will naturally want to go behind the battery like that. See that one going down like there. So this one will naturally want to go behind this battery, and this will just push through the battery. See how it goes through easy? But this one won't. So what we do is we make sure that one's lined up and not sitting on top of the plastic like this, basically. See how it's caught on the plastic? You want to make sure it's just in the plastic there. This one then is resting. So this is kind of your position now. You've got them ready to go down, but they won't push. Like, don't try to push now because they'll bend. But before you push, all you do is you get your little plastic spudger and push this battery, and then watch this. See how the battery pushes away like that? You want to push the battery away and just make sure this is inside the plastic. Your finger's over here ready pushed down. You just push the spudger. So I'll try and get an angle of this because you'll see this better from an angle now. Now you know what we're doing. Let's do that there. Zoom in, and this works nice and easy once you know how to do it. There you go. So now all you'll do is, this plastic is behind the plastic. So you don't want it on top here, basically. You want it sitting in there. This one is ready to go down, but if you push gently, you'll see you can't get it to go down. And then all you do is with your plastic spudger, push the battery. Oh, that's going to be a problem for my finger. Push the battery in like that, and that slides in. And once that one's slid in, you can see that's now in. This one just pushes down. So that's now fully in. So it looks, I don't know, it looks difficult for you, but that is very easy to do. I've done it now multiple times. You basically install the first battery there to hold it in, install the second, fold it down, ready to push in. And while you're holding down on this finger, you push the battery in like that, and then push it down gently. And this one just glides in as you're doing that naturally. To remove it, similar thing, you can either just pull it out, pull up, or you can kind of push that battery in and lift up like that, basically. So the removal is just in reverse. And then to cover, the USB goes cleanly and easily through the cover, and then you lift up and click down. If it doesn't quite click, see how you don't hear it clicking, just get a USB, wiggle it in, and that repositions the USB, and now it will click down, and then you've got your rechargeable AAs now. So that's how to install them. I've done this over and over, so this has survived all that and hasn't gone anywhere. So I'll do probably a dedicated video on doing that. But that's the clean juice installed. And now we can get back to finally the colours. So now we need to plug in the camera, turn the light off and get this set up. Back to where we were. And we'll just change this colour mode back to, if I can remember, whatever we had it set to. So in the image we had exposure set down to like -2.3. There we go, looking nice. To be honest, that's close enough. That's all I'll do for the exposure. That looks lovely. Turn that down a bit. So now we can turn up the brightness on this. So you can see Pokemon Emerald. And what I wanted to show you then, nice and simple, hold start and select. That makes the select start flashing. That means now left and right will change your colour modes. So you can see we can go through all the different colour modes, the prefixed ones. A lot of them look the same on camera, but they're all different colours. And there's tons of profiles. See how this new one's got a lot more pastel colours. Lots of pinks and purples. But again, on camera, these are probably just all coming off looking at very similar colour. But they're all very distinctive shades. So this one, for example, was the perfect shade for a blossom that we've got on the website, a blossom design. So that's custom for that. And then there's your colour, like mixed colour mode. So if I say go to red, you can also then do, is it AL? There you go. So AL now, you'll see now if I press buttons, AL enables reactive mode. So every button you press changes colour. So if you go to a different colour mode, the inverse colour is different for each colour mode. So it's a complementary colour. So what that does then, if you want this kind of reactive button press, you've got that on. So every button press changes to a different colour. If you don't want that, just tap AL again, and now it's turned off. So that's AL is reactive mode. So that's pretty much it. Left and right for the colour modes. Up and down for the brightness, or leaving it fully off. Holding select saves whatever you've done and comes out the menu. So I'm going to go to this pinky colour that looks red. I'm going to hold select to come out the menu. That's now saved. If I power cycle the console, the mode is saved. So again, get into your menu. Holding B master resets everything if you wanted to wipe the memory and start again. But here's the fun part. Holding A should start making all the buttons flash like that now. And now we've entered. See how all the buttons are pulsing slowly? This is now complete custom mode. So every button you press now will change colour of that button. So you can now tap, say, the trigger, cycle the colours, and set this trigger to say green. Cycle through here, set this one to a whitish, cycle this one, set it up to, I don't know, maybe a purplish, You get the idea. Every single button you can customize to a different color. So you can make it whatever color combo you like, and then hold the A to save. So that's now, if I hold A, that stopped circling now. So see, all the buttons have gone solid. This is now my completely custom color mode. You can take it one step further, which it's the same thing, but a bit easier. You go into the custom menu with start and select first. Hold A to get into the custom button color modes. If you hold Alt and RT instead of tapping, so tapping changes the color, but if you hold it, what it'll do is change all the buttons to one of your profiles. So you can hold and cycle through the predefined color modes. So if you wanted to start on a certain color mode, like all red, or let's say all green, that's what you do. Holding RT does the same, goes back the other way. So if you wanted that blue, you go there, hold Alt, it'll go back the other way. So I'm going to say, right, I've started at green, and I just want the A and B to be red. So now you can just tap these until you get to whatever color you want, basically. So like, say there, that's the color I want. Just those two buttons changed. And then hold A, and it will save. So there you go. That's now my completely custom color mode with just those two buttons a different color. And then you power cycle, and it'll keep those color modes. So that's basically the clean light in a nutshell. I'll write this all up on the wiki. I can obviously remember it in my head because I've written the code, but I like to think it's fairly self-explanatory. Select L and R or the clean screen menu, which we all know, and then you can select in and out, so it doesn't interfere with that, the two different modes. Whereas start and select together is the clean light menu. So the clean light menu, start and select, is flashing is the normal menu, which means left and right change your color mode. You can also change your color mode. So say I want to go back to red, that's fine. But if you go all the way through the color profiles or backwards to red and then all the way to the end, the custom color mode is at the very end. So the custom color mode by default is the rainbow one, and that's the one that gets customized. So whenever you enter the custom color mode, it's stored in the profile. So you can cycle through all your other static colors fine, and you're not going to lose that custom color mode. So it's just basically at the end of the profile, and there's a ton of colors, and then that's the custom one. So that's that. And then, like I say, if you don't want it on, turn it off, and you can then hold select, and that'll just turn off. So now you've got clean light installed, but you wouldn't know it. It's not even on there. And then you just hold start and select. That comes on, and you can turn your lights back on. So that's all I wanted to show. That shouldn't have been that long of a video to do that, but yeah, I think it looks nice, and it's finally ready to go. So just turn that back on. Get this camera back to compensation of 0. So it'd be nice if I could do a button press or a shortcut to set this camera to just change the compensation, because then I wouldn't have to plug in a USB whenever we're showing off LEDs. So yeah, that was a long-winded way of showing you something that should have been very easy. Just turned into a bit of a nightmare. But the end result is we've got a lovely looking console now. I don't like the colour scheme on this one. I'm going to change these now to clear blacks when I get the sample rubbers, because you can see the rubbers on these are clear. So if I change these rubbers, leave that off, change these buttons to clear black, the rubbers are still white, like clear. So I've purposely had some clear black rubbers that are coming, so that if we then wanted clear black with LEDs, which is what I think this design will look nice with, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm probably going to change my clean screen to a non-laminated. I prefer the original looking one. This is laminated, but I think I prefer the non-laminated appearance. It's more natural. So yeah, that was all I wanted to cover. Well, I was going to cover more, but I didn't expect it to take that long. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that one. And I'm going to have to reach out to the TikTok account manager to see what the hell we do with TikTok, because it just keeps blocking every single stream. And I'm not going to not be able to talk about my own products on stream. There's no point streaming otherwise. That's kind of why I'm doing it. So if TikTok want to be complaining every single time that we're selling products and not pushing it, then there's no point, because we've got like 3 people viewing and we normally get 190. So it just won't be worth streaming on TikTok if they're being funny. But yeah, hope you guys have a good one. might be back on tonight because I'll probably be working. It's Friday, so I usually get quite a lot done on a Friday. I think it's Friday. Yeah, it is. So you might see me on later today as well for those that haven't joined early on. And I'll catch you shortly.